The subconscious doesn't just listens in terms of amness. It doesn't look for humor. It doesn't know you're being clever. It just listens to, and when you say to yourself, when you do make a mistake and you seriously mean it, oh, I'm so damn stupid. You know how much damage you just did to yourself with that? Whatever you did to make a mistake is nothing compared to what you just did to yourself. I call that a capital crime of the mind. You have destroyed your ambitious nature in that moment. You have pushed the maestro as far away from you as possibly you could. Anytime you beat yourself up, you are absolutely giving life to the intruder, who has no intentions of you ever growing beyond the age 6, when you had been totally taken over by then with 60,000 no's.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Rob White, who shares how to silence the intruder in your mind. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and create harmony to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. Today's quote comes from the book by Christopher Logue. Come to the edge. We might fall. Come to the edge. It's too high. Come to the edge. And they came, and he pushed, and they flew. Sometimes we need to be pushed so we can fly. I know I do. When I look back and I realize that it was just fear holding me back from the life I could have and enjoy. Where do you need to be pushed? Just remember, you want to have a parachute in case something goes wrong. Let's review last week's action step, which was to give up worrying and to cease to be anxious of anything. How'd that go? We're going to continue on that thread with today's guest. Before we get to him, as we close out the year, I hope you're having the tax conversations to figure out any last-minute tax moves you need to make. Now is the time to make those changes. You should also have your 2022 goals written out and have everything in place to execute come January 1st. If you don't, now is the time to get that done. I prefer to live my life in quarters and focus on a quarterly goal so I feel the pressure and I keep on moving forward and I'm not wasting a good portion of the year. We seem to be on a theme of living the ultimate life, and our guest today brings another perspective. We all have the intruder in our mind. You know, that voice that creates doubt and chaos? Why don't we talk about this more? It almost seems as it should be part of our education to learn who it is that's the intruder and how to control it. The reality is we're never going to get away from it. It's designed to keep us alive, but not to let us live our ultimate life. Keeping it in check will allow us to do that. Rob White is an international best-selling author and intriguing philosopher. He's remarkably discerning detective when it comes to solving the mystery of being a human being. From humble beginnings to his current status as a real estate developer, restaurateur, world traveler, international best-selling author, he's revolutionized his vast life experiences into sound, practical advice. Let's meet Rob and learn that advice. Welcome to Richer Soul, Rob White. It's great to have you join us today.
Well, thank you, Rocky. I love joining you. Thank you.
And I'm excited to learn from you today. We always like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
I was born and raised in a small middle town and raised on the wrong side of the track, which was a lot of alcohol, yelling, screaming in the neighborhood, anger. The whole town was fraught with fear of money, is the way I'm going to say it. So money was always a problem. You never had enough, and when you had it, it seems you always spent it incorrectly. You didn't know how to target it like that, but it seems the neighborhood, even the school, people were always whining, geez, I got to get new tires. The teacher would say on my car, but I can't afford them. So I was very aware that money is scarce and money is a problem. That was my first take on money. I would say what was an incredible breakthrough for me, back then on radio, I heard a preacher from New Orleans, and I liked him because he just had this outrageous way of being optimistic and positive and bringing God into it, but most of all practical. And he used to wear, I was told, because you couldn't see him because back then it was just radio, big chains around his neck and gold. And his whole mantra was, I loves money and money loves me. Oh my God, I didn't know what to do with that. That just sounded blasphemous to me. Well, guess what? I do love money now, and money does love me. And what I mean by that, very simply, spiritually, is I love money with all the wonderful things I can do with it, which I love doing. And money loves me. I find it flows to me easily and effortlessly. Now, I do have to get out there and do something and be productive. But I do really get the simplicity of money. It's God's marvelous idea of circulation. You've got to get out there with yourself. Money helps you to spread your good word, whatever it is. I love giving to St. Jude's monthly. That is one of my wonderful, happiest reasons for having an excess of money, that I can give it to little children who are suffering, little angels, like that, and all the other beautiful things. So, in fact, yeah, I'm the only one in my family, I'd say, who broke from the paradigm money is bad, it's the root of all evil. And of course, I say if it's the root of all evil, it has to be the root of all good. How do you build hospitals without it? So, but they never saw the other side. And I love my family, but most of them still live struggling to just make it financially and seemingly angry about money. I'm very comfortable with money, Rocky. Took me a long time to say that, and that's what I want to say.
So how did that journey go? I mean, here you were a kid, you're living in a place of scarcity. Everyone around you is talking that way. There's this guy on the radio who's telling you that money is great. And I know that opened your eyes, but how did you get from where you were to where you are? Because it sounded like it was a long journey.
It was difficult. I didn't tell anybody about I loves money and money loves me, because I knew they'd all not only laugh at me, but actually get mad at me. I see, and it's interesting, in the small mill town in which I live, there was a collective collection of beliefs. And heaven forbid you should step 1 inch outside and question any one of them. And one of them is money's the root of all evil. It's hard to get and it's troublesome. So I knew better than to challenge that idea. But what I secretly did was I got a job at pumping gas and socking my money away, knowing I had to get out of town. There was a part of me that wanted to stay in town desperately because it was so comfortable. Even though it was miserable, it was comfortable. We can be very comfortable in our misery, I have found. And there was a part of me that said, I got to get out. Otherwise, I have 3 kids by one wife, 2 more by another wife, be an alcoholic, working at the local factory, screaming out, railing out against everything. I could see it. I was a prophet. I could see what was on the handwriting on the wall, so to speak. So I socked away money, and I got enough to go to the University of Massachusetts. Back then, your tuition was only $100. Yeah, that was it, 100. Although 100 back then, I'm aging myself, was a lot of money. I paid for my tuition, my books, my room and board, everything, all by myself. I wasn't that intelligent that I got scholarships. My folks had many other children they were trying to raise, barely making it financially. And I refused to take out a loan because I loves money and money loves me. And if I start borrowing, and I'm going to get angry at money, then money's going to get angry with me. I mean, I really got this without saying it as cutely as I might be saying it now. I sensed it deeply. I struggled and worked hard through UMass, paying my whole way, never taking a penny from anyone, never taking out a loan. And then a big test came for me, Rocky. The principal of Athol High School, that was my mill town, got in touch with me and said, we'd love to have you come to Athol and teach. Oh, what a hero I could be. I could go back to Athol. Look at me, born on the wrong side of the tracks. Now I'm teaching. But I would be swamped back in that paradigm of scarcity and anger and resentment and poor me. So I loaded my car, and that was how much I had learned to deal with money from age 14 to 21. I had bought a car. Not only did I buy a car my senior year in college on my money, Rocky, I had $5,000 stashed away. Yeah, man, I was good with money. I loved money, and money loves me. So I got in my car and went to Boston, Massachusetts, which is where I am right now. I also have a home on the West Coast, but I'm here in Boston now. And it was scary. I had no friends in Boston. I didn't know where I was going to stay in Boston. I had no job in Boston. I had never been to Boston. Athol, Bobby, was very, very Atholian. He hadn't gone anywhere. From Athol to Amherst, UMass, and now to Boston. Oh, my God. And I had a voice inside of me screaming, you fool, turn this car around, go home and crash in mom and pop until you get at a place in Athol and take that job. That is, by the way, what I call the intruder, the unwanted mental house guest we all live with. We'll get into that later. But I persisted knowing if I really loves money and money really loves me and life is out there to support me, if I'm willing to support life, I started just piecing this together without saying it like I'm saying it to you so simply, clearly, dynamically. Just a sensing, a pushing for something that I'd never experienced, but was convinced it might just be there if I endured. And sure enough, I found a rooming house and got a room. And I got it right near the Prudential Center, which is a very high building. So if I got lost in Boston, listen to this, I could look up and find my way back. Oh, God. I don't think I have that kind of courage today. I don't know. That's amazing. I'm starting to get proud of myself as I'm talking about myself. And every one of us can be proud of ourselves. But anyway, so I got a job teaching in Boston. And I loved the job. And I kept it for 17 years. But I loves money and money loves me. Rocky, I wanted to have a lot of money to help a lot of people with and to have the good life myself. But imagine donating to causes and being able to give a lot instead of a little. And also getting that Ferrari that I wanted that I'd see. Oh, my God, who gets things like that? So at age 40, I actually went into Dan Kearns, the principal, and said, Dan, this is June's the end of the year. This is my last year. What are you, crazy? What's wrong with you? You only need 17 years and 3 more years. You got limited retirement. You got a health plan for the rest of your life. Dan, I'm forsaking myself. I've had this yearning, this hankering for so long to get out there, be an entrepreneur. All my colleagues, my fit friends, my family, my dad said, Bobby, you don't need a psychologist. You need a team of psychologists to settle you down. What are you, out of your mind? I did it. And I went out into the world very confident and scared. Yeah, they can go together. You can be confident, you can be scared at the same time. Don't let anyone fool you. That I could make something happen. And I was walking on Huntington Avenue in Boston, looked down, there's a brand new book. Who doesn't pick up a brand new book? Picked it up, turned it over. The title was How to Get Rich in Real Estate by Robert Kent. I didn't even know what I was going to get rich in. Now I knew. It was my calling. And here was my directions. So I followed the directions. We won't get into that, simple directions back then. I did what he said, followed it to a T. I ended up becoming a developer on the East Coast and on the West Coast. Even named a street after me called Bob White Way on the West Coast. And so did wonderfully well and had proven I loves money and money loves me and a lot. And then from there, I went to wanting to partake. I thought I'd get involved in the restaurant business. I loved restaurants, went to them. Why can't I own a restaurant? And I would attracted the right and perfect partners, and we created 3 very successful restaurants. Again, more of an example of I loves money and money loves me. Since then, I traveled the world extensively. Very curious about the nature of what it is to be a human being. Because I could see it was clearly nothing specific. We'll get into that in a little bit. And now I am an author and a philosopher and a poet and giving back all that I have learned so others don't have to make quite as many mistakes, but every one of us is going to fail our way forward. Please don't think you're going to miss failing. Failing is part of the game. I mean, see, when you get failing as an opportunity to learn something, your failure becomes a win. So that's the point. So one thing I will tell you, if you ask me, did you make many mistakes? I make as many mistakes now as I did 50 years ago. The difference is every mistake I look at, I immediately turn around, look at it, and I say, what can I learn from this? Turn this into a blessing. What's there for me, about others, about the world, about what I'm doing with whatever I'm up to? So that's pretty much in a thimble, which ended up being a big gallon container, the answer to your question, Rock.
Well, and thank you for sharing. And I always say, we learn from mistakes. You get the choice. Do you want to learn from yours or someone else's? There is a faster way to do it, and that is to learn from the mistakes that other people made instead of having to make them yourself. But in spite of that, we're still going to make our own. And, I always say if you're not failing, you're not trying. And that is probably very much with life a shame, because we only get so long, and you might as well enjoy that journey and have fun. So we're here to talk about your book. I'd love to know what inspired you to write the book, The Maestro Monologue, Discover Your Genius, Defeat Your Intruder, Design Your Destiny.
Well, the big line there is defeat your intruder. What I learned early in my teen years without really recognizing it and not truly getting it completely until several decades later is that there's 2 of me. And I was quite intrigued with the fact that there's 2 of me. Then I realized there's 2 of all of us. To be born a human being, I was born the maestro. The maestro was the conductor of an orchestra that absolutely conducts that orchestra so it just unfolds as a beautiful symphony. I was born with the capacity to conduct my life in ways that my life would unfold like a beautiful symphony. But 2 years later, an other self was born. That's the terrible twos. With the terrible twos come the no's. Psychologists claim you hear 60,000 no's from age 2 to 5 in some way, shape, or form. They can be loving no's. They can be no's to warn you you're going to harm yourself. They can be no's because you're just driving mom crazy. But you're going to hear them. And that's part of the gig of being a human being. And in the moment you start hearing those no's, you begin questioning what's wrong with me. And that question is when that unwanted mental house kit shows up and starts collecting all the things that are wrong with you. And that intruder, the other self, the false self, the counterfeit version of you, will live with you for the rest of your life. You never get rid of it. No one has ever gotten rid of it. But you can learn to tame it, to take command of your life, and once again, be the maestro. So my book is about showing you how you have identified with a false version of yourself, an assumptive identity, and you pay more attention to it than the truth about yourself, the maestro you were born to be. That's what the book is that's what the book's about, Rocky. And what is the reason most people don't? A lot of people read a lot of self-help books, go to seminars, and they really put their heart and soul into it. And then they say to me, I've met tens of thousands of people that have spoken about this stuff with, because it's my passion. And they'll say, and I find I'm right back where I started from. And I'll tell you why that happens so much to so many. And that's this, Rocky. That's the intruder that read the book. The intruder has no intentions of having you get anything out of that book. The intruder is composed of thoughts of your inadequacy and unworthiness that you came to during childhood moments of fear and pain. That is what gives life to the intruder. And if you were to break through that and see that you are the maestro and there is so much more to you that meets the eye, the intruder would die. So it will convince you it's you. And it's so good, it not only convinced you it's you, it went out in the world and convinced the world it's you. So when I said to Dan Kearns, or my teacher friends, or my parents, or my friends, I've decided to quit teaching because I want to go out and be an entrepreneur and become a millionaire. They're intruders. They're intruders. So they didn't mean to harm me, but they're intruders. And what's wrong with you? Of course, that's a question I've been asking since I was 2 when I heard the first no, which triggers, oh my God, what am I making a dumb, stupid mistake? Oh, I had sleepless nights, about this. So that was their intruders imposing on my intruder. And I had to break from all of that and get there was another me. And I am that existed when I was a little infant, playful, courageous, ambitious, learning to walk and talk and read and write. Oh my God, you couldn't stop me. That's before the nose set in. And, according to some psychologists, if we had to learn to walk and talk and read and write at age 40, we're not going to get it done. Isn't that amazing? We will have come up with enough excuses by then that we just won't get it done. That's amazing, isn't it, Rocky?
That is amazing. And I guess I never thought about it that way. Is if we had to do these things later in life, how many people would give up? Oh, this walking's hard. I'm going to give up on it, right? Yeah. And 2, you don't give up on it, right? You keep going. It's funny because we learn a language without a textbook, without a classroom, and essentially without a teacher. And then something happens. And
you nailed it. And then the 60,000 no's come along. And by age 6, when we go to elementary school, we're out now socializing really outside of the family for the first time, we act out those no's. From age 2 to 12, we test them out and we validate that we are inadequate, inferior, insecure, unworthy, whatever it might be, not smart enough, not tall enough, not sexy enough, not pretty enough, not whatever, talented enough. We test it out and prove it. And then most folks, that's when the intruder has not only taken over your mind, he's taken over your reactions to life. Most folks, if they don't become aware of this, when they're 12, 22, 32, 42, 52, 62, 70, 92, they die being 12. They never expressed all that was inside of them. They wanted to express. We love watching people who have the courage, and it takes courage. It's scary, and that's all right. Be scared, be courageous, and trust in yourself. Self-reliance, man, it's all there. And when you were just a little tiny tot, didn't know the English language, you were getting things done because you weren't hearing any conversation about what's wrong with you. No, you didn't hear no. By the way, that first no you hear, why it's so traumatic, the one that really sets in, no, don't do that, honey. No. Daddy said no. That one has you feel a break from belonging from the tribe. And it is so scary. Never before. You were part of the tribe, man. It was all interacting. We were having fun, supporting each other. Mommy, daddy, my sister, my brother, my doggy, all that. And then no. All of a sudden you were alienated, thrown into a sphere all by yourself. That's what scared you. And then you wondered why. And the only conclusion you could come to, hearing more no's to put it all together, is, yeah, definitely there's something wrong with me. And by the way, it doesn't stop at 12. The teen years, the bullying, the mocking, all of that, more no's, more no's, more no's. No's are part, the hell of planet Earth is no. And when you take it seriously, planet Earth is a hell to live on. But when you get that, you can live higher than that. You don't have to buy it. And by the way, all those no's, they're never about me. They're about the way I'm being. The I am that I am that is authentic and real, that's the maestro. Now, I can be the tiny little petty gossiping. Oh, I can still get caught in that. Hey, Rocky, I can still get caught in that sometimes. But I catch myself caught in it. And I say to myself, oh, I see you there. You know who I'm talking to? The intruder. I see you there. You snuck right up on me and took over my personality. Good job, but I have no part of it. I'm done with it. And I will pause. I won't say it out loud because people would get scared of me if I started talking like that. But I say it to myself, which creates a pattern interrupt to allow me to remind myself of who I am. And so I can come at things that are softer, more open-minded, loving, caring way. And it's it is, we hear born again and then you're done with it. No, I say reality is part of the gig of being a human being is there's two of you. At first, you just experience the maestro and you love it. Then you become acquainted with the unwanted mental house guest, the intruder, who takes over your life if you allow it to, and you are very discouraged with yourself in life. And you always have the option to go back to being who you truly are, but you must own it. Here's the tough part. You must own that you put together the intruder. I get mom and dad and harsh teachers and harsh friends contributed by saying no and calling you a jerk. But ultimately, you bought what they said. You created an identity of you being incomplete and inadequate this way and that way. And if you're willing to own it, it no longer owns you. When you're willing to own, you put that computer in your life, intruder, well, it is like a computer, isn't it? Intruder in your life, who then runs your life like a computer. When you own that, you can then release yourself from it for the moment. You will never be rid of it. I say a great life is 80% maestro and 20% intruder. Yes, there are going to be times when things happen, you're going to feel guilty and beat yourself up. It's just something you were taught to do that's never going away, but you can stop it a lot quicker if you're willing to be aware of what you're aware of in the moment. And what you're not aware of in the moment is the intruder has taken over your mind and is doing a great job of making you feel little, which makes it feel big. Oh, man, what a craziness, huh?
It is. And I think there's a quote of yours in the book where you say that the journey is not about adding anything more, but rather to chip away at what you are not. And that seems to fall right into what you're saying with the intruder. We don't need anything additional, do we? We need to get rid of essentially all the baggage.
That's beautiful. And I'm glad you picked up on that one, because that's probably key to the book, the Maestro Monologue. I was born, I talk about me because if I'm talking about me, I'm talking about you and everyone else, because essentially we're all the same. Regardless of race, creed, nationality, all our political affiliations, religious affiliation, regardless of any of that, underneath that, we are all the same. And I was born totally capable of conducting my life in a productive, prosperous, loving, caring way. And then with the no's, the terrible twos, terrible for me, not for mom and dad, not nearly as much for mom and dad as they knew it was for me, I began adding things like, I'm not that smart. Every time I try something, I get yelled at. I'm clumsy. I can't even pour milk without spill. Oh, look at the milk you poured it. Daddy told you to wait. He'd have poured your milk. Now look at the mess. Well, what I come to is I'm a mess. I get that life is messy business, and I'm a mess trying to clean up messy business. That's a bigger mess. That's the adding. The only way to get back to the authentic you is to start chipping away at those lies. My lies were I'm not smart enough, I'm not handsome. Back that was in my teen years, handsome, but I'm not smart enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not athletic enough. In my earlier years, those were what I had taught myself to be true about me. And I identified with those and created a personality to protect myself around those. And that's the intruder. Oh, he'll promise you he's protecting you. He'll say, oh, no, don't try that. I mean, you're just going to make a fool of yourself. I'm doing this for your own good. What he didn't tell you is if you don't try that, you're not going to try anything. And you're going to be sitting making a fool of yourself because you're doing nothing. But that part, he doesn't tell you that. That's the part I figured out. So it's chipping away. I call it calling an MD. Yeah, not a medical doctor, calling a marvelous denial. And it feels absolutely marvelous to deny those lies you hold about yourself that just ain't so. Who said something like this? It's not what you think about you that's true that harms you. It's what just ain't so that does all the damage. See, and that's the problem. We hold on to a lot of flawed ideas about ourselves that just ain't so about us. And they cause a lot of problems. Just not being worthy of money. I mean, I was born in a community where almost everyone, not everyone, the owner of the factory certainly wasn't coming from there. Well, almost everyone really underneath all of that anger and bitterness about the scarcity of money and money is the root of all evil. And it was, they didn't feel worthy. You see, you're a maestro. You're a rich and majestic child of infinite intelligence. That's as good as it gets. That's incredible. Do you realize we're the only creatures on the planet who are able to talk to ourselves about ourselves? You see, squirrels are squirrels. They're just a squirrel. They're born a squirrel. I'm a squirrel. That's all there is to it. They don't talk about it. They remain a maestro squirrel, doing what maestro squirrels do. Polar bears are maestro polar bears. Tigers are maestro tigers. Only human beings who have the capacity to climb out of a cave and walk into a skyscraper, walk on planet Earth and walk on the moon, because we're able to talk to ourselves about ourselves. But the evil behind all of that is we get caught up in talking to ourselves in self-deprecating ways because of the nose. We miss the point of talking to ourselves about ourselves. It's the breakthrough I'm being right now so I can emerge as something even grander and have greater expressions of myself. That's what I did from working in a gas station to getting the degree to teaching to becoming an East Coast and West Coast very successful developer to becoming a restaurateur with 3 restaurants in Boston. Constantly talking to myself about myself in a way that inspired myself to dare to get out there and try something new, knowing I am the maestro and knowing the intruder will be right there waiting for me to trip up so it can say, look what you did, Dumbo. You see, I told you this was a dumb idea. Now you get back to where you were, settle down. Like that, yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Answer Man Podcast. Did you know that most small business owners hate looking at their financials? It's one reason they may struggle with business success. The Profit Answer Man Podcast helps them ensure they are profitable and can pay their employees and weather the storms we all have to face. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man Podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. And I think you've got a quote in your book from Norman Cousins that somewhat pulls that in. The tragedy of life is not death. Rather, it's that we let die inside of us while we live. And that is a shame. And that's essentially what the intruder is doing, is killing all your dreams and all your opportunities and everything that goes on. And you've mentioned this a couple of times. You talked about I am. What is the power of I am?
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge what you just said. I love that you brought in Norman Cousins' quote and how you related it. That was fabulous. Thank you, Rocky. I am are the two most intimate words you can ever speak to yourself about anything. And when you say I am, your subconscious mind, that powerhouse that's always listening and is really running the show more than your conscious mind, otherwise your dreams would come true. Oh, I'm going to be a great singer, and tomorrow you're a great singer. What happened to that? Well, the intruder in your subconscious mind decided differently. My point back to you, though, when you say something, after you say I am, it has an incredible impact on you. If I say, oh, I'm so dumb, I shouldn't have done that, don't think that's cute. It isn't cute. You might have said it cutely, but your subconscious mind took it as God said, truth. And it plans to prove to you later down the line that you are dumb. So even being cute about it, don't be cute. It's because the subconscious doesn't just listens in terms of amness. It doesn't look for humor. It doesn't know you're being clever. It just listens to, and when you say to yourself, when you do make a mistake and you seriously mean it, oh, I'm so damn stupid. You know how much damage you just did to yourself with that? Whatever you did to make a mistake is nothing compared to what you just did to yourself. I call that a capital crime of the mind. You have destroyed your ambitious nature in that moment. You have pushed the maestro as far away from you as possibly you could. Anytime you beat yourself up, you are absolutely giving life to the intruder, who has no intentions of you ever growing beyond the age 6, when you had been totally taken over by then with 60,000 no's. So that's, so the I am, when you pay attention to people when they say I am, and you're going to learn, there's going to be a great revealing. We reveal ourselves to others more than we reveal ourselves to ourselves, because we don't listen to what we're saying. Others do. And so, in fact, but the subconscious part of you, oh, it's listening and recording. And the world is ever a mirror, Rocky, reflecting back to you what you were projecting outwardly. And if I say to me after doing something that is stupid, instead of saying, oh, that was a stupid way of being, but instead I say, oh, stupid me. Instead of looking at the action as a way of being, I look at it like it's me. And when I do that, the world is a mirror, ever reflecting back to me. Something's going to show up down the line that's going to prove once again that I'm stupid, because I set myself up with that. The subconscious is on board with that. And the world says, let it be. And the next thing you know, I'm doing one stupid thing after another until I till I finally call an MD. Oh, wow, Rob, you've got yourself on a downwardly spiraling path here. This is 3 days in a row you've done dumb things. It's a lie that you're dumb. Why did you call yourself stupid? It was a foolish mistake. The fact is, you're the maestro. I see. Talk to yourself about yourself in a truthful manner. Use the power you have to talk to yourself about yourself in a way that lifts yourself up. Take that seriously. I don't mean platitudes, affirmations. You know who grabs those when you just have some blah, blah, blah affirmation and you're not really listening? The intruder's saying it, knowing so you say, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich. When you just say that shallowly, the intruder picks it up and says, I'm going to be rich. Big deal. I'm going to be rich. Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm going to be rich. Oh, yeah, that's about to happen. You are reinforcing being poor. Believe it or not, when you're affirming the opposite, but you're just doing it mechanically, while you have an attitude of poverty, your positive affirmations, listen to this, are reinforcing your negative way of being. You must be willing to say, I am rich. First of all, listen, Rocky, I am going to be rich. What does that imply? I'm not rich. See, I want to be I am rich. So the subconscious doesn't care about whether you are or not. It cares about what you say about yourself. So I am rich, knowing that you mean it because it's coming your way, but not I'm going to. I'm going to is reinforcing I'm not. Anytime you say I'm going to do something, you're reinforcing I'm not, because you're coming from I'm not right now, but I'm going to. There's a chance you may, but probably not. If you are I am rich, and now I am on my way to proving it, but I am that. I am loving. I'm on my way to proving it. I have found my right and perfect soulmate. I'm on my way to proving it, not to finding, to proving. That attitude of mind, the maestro attitude, the maestro sees everything is already so, even before it's so. See, the maestro saw me as a very successful real estate developer with a home in Boston and a home on the ocean down the Cape before I was that. And that's because I allowed that part of me to entertain that part of me. And I actually started thinking of it as already having happened, Rocky, before it had happened. It was like remembering it. And when you get it to a state of remembering what you're going to be before you are it, nothing can stop you, because when you remember it, it's just fact. Things can get in the way, but fact is fact. So it's a matter of fact that anybody I have spoken to, I've spoken to many very successful people in many lines of business, and they all, when we speak about this, say, oh yeah, I can see that I already knew before it happened. It was done. And I didn't have to argue with myself about when it's going to happen, because I knew it was already done. Now it's a matter of time, and time will just take care of time. Anyone who has really had outstanding fame absolutely gets that. Bob Dylan, writing his incredibly poetic lyrics to his songs, claim they were already there. He just had to remember them. See? He figured that out. They're already there. Well, how'd you do it? They were already there. I just had to remember. Well, that's your whole life. When you can take it from your successes you dream of having already have occurred, and you remember it, now you can go out into the world feeling very sure of yourself. Oh, sure, things are going to get in the way, but it has to happen. It already happened. How can it not happen? Isn't that a beauty?
It very much is. There was an analogy in the book that I really enjoyed, and I'd love for you to share it with the listeners. And that was the one about the Stratavarious violin.
Yeah, we were all born a Stratavarious violin in perfect tune. If anyone doesn't know what a Stratavarious, the man who crafted Stratavarious violins crafted the perfect violin. Any violinist today would love a Stratavarious violin. And yet, if a Stratavarious violin is out of tune, it sounds as awful as a cheap violin. And we're all Stratavarius born violins, right? Our personalities are our violin for which we play our tunes. But if our strings of the violin are out of tune, it doesn't matter if it's a Stratavarius. We will project and express and experience ourselves as a cheap tin violin. Yeah, and that is so important. Every note that you took seriously. Now, if the nose bounced off, you're like, so what? I mean, if we were so lucky as to get, big deal. So my mom's mad at me because I pulled the cat's tail. Big deal. So my mom's mad at me. I'm playing with my boat in the toilet bowl. If we got it like that, but we don't get it like that, and I guess some things we can't afford to not take her seriously. The difference is, Mom meant, I love you, I think the world of you. No, don't do that, because you're going to get sick if you're putting your hand in the toilet bowl and putting your hand in your mouth. I don't hear that. I hear, don't do that. And then I think something's wrong with me. We were just getting along wonderfully. What in the world happened here? And I don't ever blame Mommy. Mommy's perfect. Look at her. She's an incredible being. Look at her. She's got all the answers. Dad, too. And when they're saying no and giving me that dirty look, obviously I'm flawed here. Now, we can't think that when we're 2 and 3 and 4. But boy, oh boy, can we feel it. I remember when I was 4, and I ran into the bathroom, opened the door to show my mommy a drawing I did. So proud. And of course, Mommy was on the toilet. And she said, Bobby, get out of here. Shut the door. I was so devastated. I mean, you see, and that's not Mommy's fault. That wasn't, I just barged in, ran toward her with my picture of the house I drew, so happy, so proud. And Mommy would look at it and say, that's the best picture I've ever seen in my whole life. That moment was an incredible break from belonging to the family. I felt so alone, so alienated, so lonely, so flawed. Now she came out and said, oh, I'm sorry, honey. Let me see what you got. Oh, what a beautiful. Too late. Too late, Mom. I got it. I got the truth from you. See, I don't think this. I sensed it. Now you're being nice to me. But I really see when I caught you off guard and you had to react to me quickly, you don't like me. I didn't think that. I felt it. I didn't know how to think that. But that feeling, and not only that, I don't even belong to the family. You're all here laughing, having fun, and I'm over here crying because and nobody's paying attention to me. You feel like you're broken. You have been detached from the flock. Human beings are gregarious beings. We can't stand it if we're left alone. Such a painful position. Yeah. Of course, we're all one in the end. Underneath all of this, there's only one of us. It's all illusion. That's another whole conversation for another day. But on this planet Earth, separateness is there. Feeling separate and feeling part of it is natural, normal. Feeling separate and feeling alone and lonely, that's a lie. No one's alone. No one is ever alone. You can't be. You're in the world with others. Even if you lock yourself in your house and you don't go out and you call for groceries to be sent, someone has to come and deliver the groceries. You're not alone. But we can have it. We are completely alone. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling. Comes with the nose, and the intruder loves that. The intruder nourishes on that feeling. Look at me. I'm not only inadequate, I'm out here struggling. I'm all alone, trying to make it like that. That's the intruder at its finest, when it has you at your worst. Yeah.
I have found that life is pretty simple, but doing simple is hard. Why do people look for complicated solutions to their problems instead of just doing the simple?
That's a beauty. We have developed complicated minds. If you ever speak to a Zen master, they're so simple. Yeah, if you're ever in the presence of a Zen master, which I had the good fortune of being, you get their incredible feeling of peacefulness, and you get they are remarkably powerful. For example, and then we'll get to your story. To your question, let's get back to your question. I'm going off on a tangent. Now, what was your question again?
Why do people look for complicated solutions to their problems?
Complicated minds, yeah. You see, my brother says to me, you're a lot smarter than me, and I'm not. Only because I've succeeded at things I've tried, and he hasn't nearly as many. And that's just because he's lived from the intruder. Because you think more than me. No, Kyle, I think less than you. Albert Einstein is smarter than all of us because he's thinking all the time 10 times faster than us. No. When Albert Einstein was around, he didn't think a lot of thoughts at all. He thought what he thought about, and he continued to think on what he wanted to think about, which was going to be productive to what he was up to. And he didn't think about anything else, and that's a simple mind. A complicated mind is what we have going on when you're watching the news and talking to somebody and driving your car and all the stuff that comes in, and you're multitasking. It's funny, but I heard that there is one professor at MIT that said, when you take this course, you better not multitask, because you're not going to get what I say if you don't keep your mind wide open and simple to what I'm going to say. And you see, multitasking, we're proud of that. It complicates the mind. We're trained to think everything's difficult. We got to pull it apart to understand it. The truth is, as you said, everything's easy. I mean, success is easy. Money is easy. Love is easy. All of that is easy if we're willing to ease up on ourselves. See, the story of the Zen master is going to tell you, Zen master in a little village, he's in the temple, he's meditating, and Garth, a warrior from another place comes, he's known for killing people just if they look at him funny, raping women, pillaging the villages. Where's your leader? Well, he's in the temple. He goes to the temple, and there's this little Zen master, weighs 90 pounds with his legs crossed, his hands up, meditating. Goth, 240 pounds, comes in with his shields in his armor, and he says, are you the leader? So they tell me. You get up now and you bow to me. Right now I'm meditating. Do you know who I am? No, I don't. I am Goth. I can pull this sword out of its sheath and I can thrust it through your gut without flinching an eye. Oh my goodness. Do you know who I am? No. I am a Zen master. I can take that thrust through my gut without a flinch in the eye. Goth then took the sword, sheathed it again, and bowed down. You are the master. You see, simplicity. Be with who you are. Don't come up with 1,000 reasons and excuses or defenses. Just be with, I am healthy, I am meditating, I intend to continue to be. And if you choose to thrust that through me, then that shall be. Although I am that it doesn't happen. He doesn't have to say that part. He's able to be that part. So the problem with a complex mind is we look for too many reasons, too much information, too many excuses, too much data. You don't need all of that. And one of the problems I find, and I love self-help books, but if someone says, here's 12 ways, oh God, 12, that's way too many. Can you boil it down to 2 or 3? And I mean that. It's 3 or 5. We can take 5. We're starting to push it with 6, 7, 12. So, but we think the more ways, the better. A complicated mind gives you a complicated life, and a complicated life is fraught with failures that are not turned into successes. Yeah.
And thank you for that. Let's dig in a little bit more to the book, because in there you talk about the dynamic trio, the rebel, the recognizer, and the revealer. Can you tell us about the dynamic trio and what they're like?
So we're all born with as the maestro. And the maestro comes with 3 resources. The rebel, we are born to be a rebel. You must rebel against that which is stopping you from being who you are. And yes, it's rebelling for what you want your life to be about. It's not railing out and screaming against stuff. It's not about being a rebel without a cause, but the child had to rebel against crawling in order to walk, rebel against mumbling in order to talk, rebel against being illiterate in order to read and write. You must rebel, and the rebellious nature in you is meant to be profitable and productive and optimistic, rebelling for what you want. Then comes the recognizer. The recognizer is the I am. The maestro you are is very aware of you being all those ways of being you really would love to express and experience. So I am now, I am kindly, I'm generous, I'm loving, I'm interesting, I'm very interested, I'm generous. I am aware of these I ams. That's the recognizer. When I recognize what I am for what is true about me, and I feel a sense of certainty. And then comes the revealer. When I get to that place of certainty that I was going to go out in the world, after I got the book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate, found the book, and make millions in real estate, when I get to that sense of certainty, the revealer shows up. I generate action to reveal the authenticity and the validity of what I am claiming myself to be. So the revealer is taking the action. When we began this conversation, we talked about all of this is of no value if you don't take action. So you need the rebel to break free from the intruder. You need the recognizer to recognize the truth of your many talents, skills, and strengths. And you need the revealer to feel that urge to get out in the world and express yourself that way so you can experience it. And that's when you feel really productive, prosperous, and happy in life.
And we have to learn to call them up when we need them and to tell them to do their job and to kind of go forward and help us to achieve what we really, really want. And to fight the intruder, because that is a lifelong fight, right? We're constantly doing that.
When you say so the rebel, the minute I see the intruder has taken over my life and I'm getting petty, argumentative, insisting I'm right. I know what it is. I rebel. I call upon the rebel. The rebel steps up and says, ho, 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 wait on here. I see you, intruder. That's my rebellion against the intruder for the maestro. And when I'm willing to say, wait a minute, let's slow down here. You're getting yourself all caught up here and convincing me that the way to go is to get argumentative and insist I'm right. That's me rebelling. And then when I say, as a matter of fact, the very opposite is true. I'm patient, I'm calm, I'm intelligent, I'm creative. And that's what I choose to be. That's me calling forth the recognizer. And then when I say, and to prove it, I'm going to call, and I had this happen, and it's in my book, one partner I had with one real estate deal, we fell out with each other, and I called and patched it all up and cleaned it up so we had a profitable project. So that is the revealer, revealing the I am, and the rebel is what created space for me to see myself differently than the petty little argumentative, oh, I got to be right me, that the intruder will insist I am.
And it's learning to get that dynamic trio going. So there's another quote in the book that I love. This one was from Thomas Edison. If we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. And I think too often we hold ourselves back. One of your later chapters is the kingdom of wow. What is wow an abbreviation for?
Well, WOW is my abbreviation for wonderful obsession with winning, which, of course, is what Edison was talking about. If we did everything we could do, we'd be astounded. Living in the kingdom of WOW is when I am wonderfully obsessed with winning at that, with all that is good and beautiful in life. It isn't about winning over others. Oh, heavens, no. That's the intruder. Here's what's amazing about obsessions, Rocky. Every human being is an obsessive and addictive being. So we think obsessions and addictions are bad. They're not bad, they're not good. They're only bad if you do bad things with them, and they're good if you do good things. And if you're wonderfully obsessed with winning, then you love learning. You love taking chances so that you can try new things and you can access more of your unrealized potential. And when you have an inspiring addiction, that's when you love what you're addicted to and you do it continually. I'm addicted to writing now. I write every day for 3 or 4 hours. It's an addiction, but it's an inspiring addiction. Doctors who are studying medicine have an inspiring addiction to get back to the laboratory, to look at what they looked at, to refine what they're doing to improve medicine. So addictions and obsessions are magnificent resources when you use those effectively. Martin Luther King Jr. was wonderfully obsessed with winning at sharing with the world that we all have a dream, and we all should have the right to fulfill on our dreams. He was obsessed, not obsessed awful, obsessed wonderfully. So that is what we want to get to. So now, as an author, a philosopher, and a poet, I am an author, saying I am a philosopher, I am a poet. That's what I listen to my I ams, my intimate conversations with myself. And I am wonderfully obsessed with writing and sharing what I have learned with the world. So my inspiring addiction is to get this book right now, the Maestro Monologue, out there, so the world can learn from my mistakes. By the way, in the book, I talk about mistakes. So there's mistakes, mistakes, which we beat ourselves up over. And then I say what you've got to do is transform those into mistakes, MISS-TAKES. That a mistake is you you missed the mark. Yeah, you missed the mark. The point is learn from your mistake, refine what you're doing, do a retake, and when you hit the mark, pick up that megaphone like the Hollywood director and say, that's a take. So it's mistake, retake, that's a take. That makes all your mistakes fun. They become a game of winning instead of an opportunity to beat yourself up and get discouraged once again. So there's no dumb mistakes. There's mistakes that I wish I didn't make, but I guess I'm going to take a look at this, see what I can learn from it.
It's funny when you see the Hollywood reel of the the takes where they do all the bloopers. It's hilarious to watch. And if we can laugh at ourselves at our hilarity, that is also a great way to live life. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but at the end of the day, people need to take action. And I always like to ask our guests, what's an action step people can take this week to move forward in their life?
For me, I would share with people what's most important for you to do is in the morning when you look in the mirror, look at yourself and say to yourself, there's two of me. Which me am I going to entertain today? The I am, the maestro, or the I am, the intruder? So and I would even say put a sticker on you, one of those little sticker on your mirrors to remind you when you look in the mirror, there's always going to be two of you. The more you're willing to be aware of the intruder, the easier it is to become the maestro and take risks that will become wonderful lessons for great successes. And the best way to begin every morning is to remind you until after 30 days or so, you will just know that you're waking up with two yous, which you is going to take over the show. If you get up every morning grumpy and angry and oh, my back is killing me and let's see what the news have to say, I can promise you that's the intruders taking over your day. If you're willing to get up and look out to the sunlight and hear the birds singing, and I have a parrot Shakespeare and listen to him singing his opera. He's a wonderful opera with a big smile on my face. I've paved the way for the maestro to take my day. And that's who I want to live as, the maestro. That would be my action step.
And I think that is a wonderful action step for people to do every day. It's simple and it's easy to do, and you get to decide what your day is. And are you going to be in charge? And are you going to do things the way you want, or are you going to let the intruder win? And it's a daily choice. And even if the intruder wins one day, it doesn't mean we can't win the other 30.
That's beautiful.
And that's definitely a choice. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
I've spoken it. It's abundance and for me, abundance is in love, intimacy, real friendships, making a difference in the world, and financially. And my secret is I love life, and life loves me. So I took it beyond money now. I love life, and life loves me, reminding me continually. That's my secret.
And that's a great outlook to have on life and how to start your day. What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
I wish I would have learned not to be a know-it-all. I just always had to be right. I was arrogant, pushy. I don't think I learned that wasn't the way to go until I was 50, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That took a long time.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I can be pretty stubborn. Yeah, I'm good at being stubborn.
And I think it's true of most men, right? When we are young, we think we know it all, and then eventually we figure out we don't. It's the wisdom of gaining some age, I guess. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Don't let your mind wander. Know what you want, know what you value, set your mind to it, and pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Because that other self will grab your mind and take it in 1,000 different directions, and you'll find 10 years later you're no closer to what you wanted than you were 10 years ago. That would be my advice.
And we recently had an episode on with a couple that helps young people literally define what they're good at, what they want, and who they want to be so that they can make that next choice of where do I go from here when I leave high school and how do I do that? It's a great gift. And being able to do that at 18 saves us so many years of fighting the intruder and taking the wrong direction instead of compounding in the right direction. If people would like to find you, the book, what is the best?
Well, I'd love you to, you can find my book on the Maestro Monologue on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and where all good books are sold. You can find me on Rob White Media, or on Twitter at Rob White Media. And I'd love to have you come over and take a look at my website, see what I have to offer. I think there's there's a special report you can get for free that's very dynamic. How to handle the nose, yeah.
And that's a big thing. We will have those links in the show notes to make it easy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rocky. This was great. I appreciate you.
Rob had a lot of money scripts to overcome, along with many other limiting beliefs. He's done a great job of that, and now he's giving back to help us to do the same. Which script from your childhood do you need to kick out and replace? This is a constant theme we all face. I wish they had a reprogramming class throughout our school years, learning to let go of the silly beliefs we hold on to, and learning how to reprogram ourselves. This week's action step: in the morning, ask yourself, which me am I going to be today? Are you going to let the maestro play or the intruder win? It's a choice, and one that you get to make. I still see the intruder, and as Rob says, you can't keep him at bay most of the time, but if you can get to 80%, you're going to have a great life. Just realize that intruder is always there pushing back. Let's close out this year very strong and be prepared for the next. Next week, we have on my friend Tommy Breedlove to share how to be legendary. If you enjoyed the episode and think someone else could benefit, would you do me a favor and share it? I'd appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.